You think Antarctica is a continent of ice. What if I told you a map drawn in 1513 shows its coastline without the ice? What if I told you a lake sealed under 4 kilometers of glacier holds water that has not touched air for 25 million years? What if I told you that in 2016, a detector buried in that ice picked up particles coming up through the planet against every law of physics we know? The most impossible one is at the end. Today, 8 things found beneath the ice that should not be there. Antarctica is not just frozen land at the bottom of the map. It is the largest archive on the planet. Every layer of ice trapped what the air carried: pollen, dust, ash, the atoms of explosions that had not happened yet when the snow fell. 4 kilometers down, the ice remembers a world without humans. And beneath the ice, the rock remembers a world without ice at all. We have only started looking. What we have already found does not fit the textbook. Some of it barely fits the planet. 1513, Constantinople. Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis assembles a world map from older charts. Some, he writes in the margin, dating back to the time of Alexander. The map is forgotten for 4 centuries. It is rediscovered in 1929 in the Topkapi Palace. For 400 years, no one had studied its southern edge. At the bottom, beneath South America, lies a long landmass with rivers and mountain ranges. In 1966, Keene State College professor Charles Hapgood publishes an analysis. The contours match Queen Maud Land, the coast of Antarctica, but as it looks beneath the ice, not the visible shore, the bedrock shore, mapped by seismic survey only in 1949. Official explanation? A distorted South American coastline, drawn by an admiral with imperfect sources. Believing it is your choice. 2. Now under the ice. East Antarctica, 4 kilometers straight down through a glacier that has not melted in 15 million years. There is liquid water. A lake the size of Lake Ontario, sealed by the weight of the glacier above it. The Russians spent 23 years drilling. In February 2012, the drill broke through. Water shot up the borehole. Cores were lifted out, frozen at impact, placed under microscopes. Inside the samples, DNA fragments belonging to organisms that match no known surface species. Some sequences remain unclassified to this day. Lake Vostok has been cut off from the outside world for an estimated 25 million years. Whatever lives down there has been evolving alone for longer than humans have existed. We have sampled the equivalent of a teaspoon. 3. Out of a wall of white ice in the McMurdo Dry valleys, blood-red water bleeds down the cliff and pools on the glacier below. For a century, no one knew why. In 2017, researchers from the University of Alaska traced the source, a reservoir of brine sealed above and below by ice, isolated for at least 1.5 million years. The water is salty, oxygen-free, iron-rich. When it touches the air, the iron oxidizes. The red is rust forming in real time. Inside the brine, 17 species of microbes surviving without sunlight, without oxygen, metabolizing sulfate and iron. They have been doing this in absolute darkness since before our species existed. This is what alien biology might look like. We just happened to find it on Earth first. Wilkes Land. Beneath 3 kilometers of ice, NASA's GRACE satellite mission detects a gravity anomaly, a mass concentration buried under the bedrock, 480 kilometers across. 2 theories. Theory 1, an impact crater, a meteor large enough to have struck the Earth roughly 250 million years ago. Coincidentally, the date of the Permian extinction, when 96% of marine species died at once. The crater would be 6 times the size of Chicxulub, the one that ended the dinosaurs. Theory 2, a mantle plume, dense rock rising from deep inside the Earth, unrelated to any impact. Both are speculative. The ice above is too thick to drill through. The only thing we can measure is its weight. And it is heavy. Now, something stranger. The McMurdo Dry Valleys are the driest place on Earth. No rain, no snow that does not sublime away. Some of these valleys have not seen liquid water in 2 million years. And lying in them, scattered across the rock, seals. Mummified, freeze-dried. Some still have skin and whiskers. Carbon dating puts the oldest at over 2,600 years. Some are 60 kilometers inland from any coast. Seals do not walk 60 kilometers across rock and ice to die in a valley with no water. They are marine animals. They cannot navigate inland. Yet, they are here. Hundreds of them. The official explanation? Confused juveniles taking the wrong direction. 60 kilometers of wrong direction, over and over, for 3,000 years. Believing it is your choice. 6. 2017, the German research vessel Polarstern drills into the seabed off the Amundsen Sea, 800 kilometers from the South Pole. The sediment core comes up containing roots. Root systems preserved intact for 90 million years. Around them, pollen from 65 plant species, fungal spores, fragments of bark. A temperate rainforest dated to the mid-Cretaceous, the age of dinosaurs. Lead author Johann Clauges publishes in Nature, April 2020. At that time, the continent already sat at the South Pole. The latitude was the same, but the climate was at least 12 degrees warmer than it should have been. Forests grew where there should have been frozen night. Something we do not understand about this planet's climate was happening 90 million years ago, right where the ice is now. December 1946. Admiral Richard E. Byrd departs the United States with the largest military expedition ever sent to Antarctica. 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, 33 aircraft. The stated objective is scientific research. The mission is scheduled for 6 to 8 months. It ends in 8 weeks. 3 aircraft are lost. Men die. The full expedition reports are classified for decades. Portions remain restricted today. In March 1947, the Chilean newspaper El Mercurio prints an interview attributed to Byrd, in which he speaks of an enemy capable of flying from pole to pole at impossible speeds. The authenticity of that interview is debated. What is not debated is this. The largest peacetime military deployment to Antarctica in history was cut to a fraction of its planned length. No one in command ever said publicly why. And the 8th, the one that has not gone away. 2006, NASA launches the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, ANITA, a balloon-borne radio detector designed to catch cosmic neutrinos. Neutrinos behave one way. They arrive from deep space, travel down through the atmosphere, pass through ice or rock, and produce a faint radio signal as they go. In 2016, and again in 2018, ANITA recorded signals that were not going down. They were coming up. Particles emerging from inside the Earth through 7,000 kilometers of solid rock at energies that should have absorbed them billions of times over before they reached the surface. By every confirmed law of physics, this cannot happen. The findings were published in physical review letters. Replications have been attempted. The signals are still there. No accepted explanation exists. Some physicists have proposed sterile neutrinos, others dark matter interactions. One peer-reviewed paper, published in 2020, proposed a parallel universe running backwards in time. Beneath Antarctica, something is happening that physics cannot account for, and it keeps happening. 8 things. 1 continent. A map drawn before the coastline could be seen. A lake older than mammals. A wound of ancient salt. A scar the size of a country buried under ice. Seals walking inland to die for 30 centuries. A rainforest at the pole. A military mission cut short, then silenced. And particles coming up through the planet, against every rule we know. Antarctica is the last place we go. It is also the first place that tells us how little we know. Every layer of ice down there is older than our entire civilization. Every kilometer of bedrock holds questions we have not learned how to ask yet. We came to chart it. We found out we cannot. Tell me in the comments which of the 8 stayed with you. Hit like if it was worth the time. Subscribe so you don't miss what we open next. There is more under there.